Hello, and welcome to the Lunchtime Game Review, where we review board games that you can play at lunch. We look at games that are easy to pick up and play in 45 minutes or less with friends.
Today we're looking at Cheaty Mages, a bluffing game for 3 to 6 players published by AEG and designed by Seiji Kanai, who designed the popular game Love Letter.
In Cheaty Mages, players take on the role of mages, betting on a champion or champions in an arena deathmatch. But, as the name suggests, we won't just be sitting back and watching the action. Each player will be using the magic at their disposal to try and make sure it's their champion that comes out on top.
At the start of each round, 5 fighters are dealt out at random, each with their own starting power and prize money. Players secretly place bets on which fighter they think will have the highest power by the end of the round. Let's say you want to bet on the Goblin because he's worth 10 coins. Well, the Goblin isn't going to win because the Dragon has 10 power, but you'll change that with your spells, which modify power. They also have a mana cost, but we'll get to that later. We can play a direct spell, which everyone can see on the Dragon, in this case Meteor Strike, for minus 10 power. But what about the Goblin? We could play another direct spell on the Goblin for plus 4, or maybe we don't want to be so obvious, so instead we'll play this face-down enchant spell for plus 8. When everyone is finished playing their spells, the cards are all flipped face up, and we count up the power. In this case, the Dark Elf one.
At the end of the round, you'll draw more cards. You'll only draw a maximum of 4. Your hand is limited to 8. And this means, unfortunately, you actually get through very few cards in the deck. If you play more than 4 cards in a round, you'll be at a disadvantage in the next round, as players have more cards than you. This is a real shame. It means you don't get through a lot of the cards that are in the deck, and there's some really, really nice ones that really change up how the game plays, particularly with the support class spells, which aren't necessarily played directly on fighters. There's things like Alteration, which moves a target spell from one fighter to another, or Metamorphosis, which allows you to discard one of the fighters and replace them altogether, or my personal favourite, Dimension Door, which changes the judge for that round.
Of course, it wouldn't be cheating unless there were rules to break, and those rules come from the judges. Each judge has a mana limit. If a fighter is quivering with spells of too much mana, then the judge will notice and will cast one of 2 judgments. One judge, Tad, doesn't do anything at all, because he's cool like that, but some judges who aren't cool will either dispel all of the spells that have been cast on an infringing fighter, or remove that fighter from the game entirely, much to the annoyance of anyone who's bet on that fighter, and to the delight of anyone who pretended to bet on that fighter, but actually were just loading it up with mana. In addition, some particularly un-Tad-like judges will disallow the use of certain types of spell, which is really annoying if that's the only type of spell you've got in your hand. Which brings us to bribing.
One of the stranger rules in Cheaty Mages is actually around bribing the judges.
Every player starts with 2 coins.
But you don't actually spend these coins when you're betting. All of your betting stubs are prepaid, so you never actually risk any of your money. Instead, in the last round, you can use these 2 coins and any coins you might have won during the game to bribe the judges an indeterminate number of times. The rules are a little bit hazy here.
We think it's an attempt to address an issue with the game, which is that the player who wins the first round usually goes on to win the whole thing. It's not a very successful catch-up mechanic, though, because every player has equal access to it, and it hurts the player with the most money, the player in the lead, the least.
So, Cheaty Mages, overall. Well, it's easy to pick up and play. Despite a few little problems with the rules, they're actually quite straightforward and fairly easy to learn. Also, it doesn't take up a whole lot of table space.
It's quick enough to play as well, even for a table of relative newcomers. You can wrap up a game in about half an hour, which is ideal for a lunch game. So I think in spite of its flaws, we do definitely recommend Cheaty Mages.
So thanks very much for watching, and yeah, your lunch break's over. You should probably get back to work.